as you start thinking about the server and the programming model, things like that, is, we define the shared data model. We also define kind of what the user experience will be, and also allow anyone to collaborate. But collaboration comes at a cost. Some people you don't want to collaborate, you want them in read-only mode. So the biggest thing that we're in the middle of doing right now is adding in security. Because it's not only web-based security with HTTPS you're looking for, but you want key-based security because you don't want your audio and video going out the door, okay, or getting picked up. Second thing is some people want much greater than 128-bit encryption. So these are the things that we actually have rolling through. Now, as a group, where are we? What technology model are we following? So as I said early on, the first thing that we do is test our concepts off with others. Okay, and what we have done with every project, including this one, is we engage with customers like Reuters or the Brigham or things like that. Right now, we're also working with a bank in Japan. That bank is actually looking at creating a collaborative web where a teller who's remote from their customer actually can help the customer write out slips. Yes, there are people that still write out slips in certain banks, in the concierge banks. And they actually want them to be able to see it, feel it, and actually work together as a group and get the person in and out. And this is all done through various kiosks. Next piece is education. As I said to you very early on, one of the things we're doing is we have all these different streams coming together. Well, folks actually want this all recorded in one stream and then played back later. Think about this. One of the things that we're doing right now is working with folks at Harvard at the med school to actually record basically the teaching that's going on. And remember, they're bringing in teaching that could be slides, they're coming images from their PAC system, and clearly they want it all recorded. And then, by the way, they already want it copyrighted and read-only and things like that. So this is really where we're going. And there are a couple of things that we found very much in common as you looked across all of the engagements. We're in 5 right now. One of them is with the Arizona State University and the University of Arizona Medical Colleges. That whole concept of working together and changing documents and looking at audio and video, okay, and also starting to hook in with REST-based services, web services, and starting to also think about I want to not only take in streams, but at the same token that I have my conference, I want to actually broadcast the streams back out. And as I said earlier, audio and video are optional in some cases. So as we walk into the last slide here, really what I was trying to give you all today was a feeling of what the cooperative web could be. Okay, how it's emerging. And you see it emerging in a bunch of different places. Clearly our focus is not looking at the document per se and sharing documents. We're really looking at sharing the whole web experience. Really what we're leveraging, and you start thinking about in the web case, is everything that was built before, from standard HTML applications, as you saw, we can just go to a website, all the way up to one that we actually can create mashups on the fly. Okay, and think about what you have installed today, whether it's a portal or whether it's a very simple web page, that can all be changed and shared, and dynamically shared actually. So as we start walking through this, the other piece that really we're coming to is, how do I start looking at human interaction in a very different way? Because one of the things that we do in the world today is we try to broadcast. Okay, and as we start broadcasting, these are the devices that you're going to end up on. You have to start thinking about, how am I going to interact with a device with a UI this small, with a camera that actually is pretty decent, okay? And start thinking about, I don't have a very nice 1024 by 768 picture that I can play with. I only have, what, about 2 by 3 inches. So you have to start thinking about collaboration in a very different way. This is also driven in a lot of cases by real-life situations. Just it was about a year ago, and that's actually one of the reasons that we're going down the direction we're in, is I was on a Britrail train in London, and I was going down to Winchester, where we have a large lab in England. And I'm going down, and the train's on time, everything's good. I talked to the guy next to me. As I talked to the gentleman next to me, I find out he's an engineer, structural engineer actually, who works for the railroad, and he actually has to go down and look at some train tracks. And I said to him, why are you going down looking at train tracks? This makes no sense. I mean, clearly you have an hour's trip with me to do this. He said, well, basically the folks that are working on the rails said, well, we have a problem. We don't know what to do. We stopped all rail service. Okay, I said, well, why aren't they basically using a phone sending you the image? Or why aren't they just, shipping it via, video? Well, we don't have that technology. And even if we did, they probably wouldn't get it right. And that really brought us into a very different way of looking at how we can start using standard devices and using them for video and audio capture. And for that matter, also starting to think about how I can blend that into a much larger system. Now, one of the things that we've done is started to test various different displays. You're seeing this at 1024 by 768. One of the things that we've now started to do is run at very high resolutions, 2560 by 1920. And what we're doing is we are actually bringing things in a much bigger in a much bigger way in a conference room setting, okay, where we can use a standard webcam and basically send out information and get this all back in. It very much changes the whole pattern of interaction and what you see and how you see it, especially if you start thinking about, in the case back in medicine, of radiographs showing up. Okay, all these radiographs show up. They're typically 12-bit. Okay, they're not 8-bit, or some of them are even 16-bit. And in the old days they were all grayscale. Now they're computer enhanced. So the question is, how are they going to render? And you get into all of these different things. And by the way, resolution. So when we showed you that little ruler, we actually have to worry about not only what my resolution is, but you have to worry about the other guy's resolution and convert things all on the fly. Last thing, when you look at the project and what we've done up to this point, it's all about extending the whole browser metaphor. Okay. And as we're extending that browser metaphor, what we were very much focused on was what's going on in HTML5, audio, video-wise, what's going on with XMPP, how can I add a lot of, what you're seeing today is a lot of this is actually done through the use of plugins, okay? Really what we want to end up with is no plugins. So basically anyone can take it and use it without any changes. So again, we're actually seeing the whole standard side pick up of this. And how many browsers, you might ask, are actually running with pieces of HTML5 today? I'll tell you right now, there's actually 3 or 4. Okay, largest one, probably the most up-to-date, are both Firefox and Safari. So we're really much focused on that. Now, as you take a step back and you say to yourself, well, this is really great, but how are you going to deal with people that are disabled? That's another side of my project here. And the first problem you have clearly is you want to text things. Audio doesn't really work very well, but video doesn't work very well. Audio works perfectly. Okay, I can also, with standard alt tags, basically define what things are and how they go on. If you think about people who are traveling in a car, we don't want people texting. We clearly don't want them basically looking at their display, but we also want things to be available in audio. And we're working on that whole piece of this. Again, this is all done in open standards. So that really gives you a feel of what's going on in Project Blue Spruce. And it also gives you a feel of, we're involved with 5 customers right now. We'll probably have another 5 by the end of the year. We're open to basically relationships with folks. So that clearly, gives you a path, of where we're going. Very expansive right now with all the different types of industries that we're working on. So, thank you.